Comparison of the dynamic characters in The Color Purple and Heart of Darkness. On my title page, I have created a yin and yang to show opposites, and just like how both of these characters became the opposite of what they once were. Celie and Marlowe both had a huge change in their behavior and views due to who they met and what they went through. Celie was in a situation she was unable to control. In Alice Walker's novel, The Color Purple, the main character, Celie, was living in fear of being hurt by a man. Celie lives in constant fear of her stepfather hurting her, so she doesn't stand up for herself and just takes the abuse he dishes out to avoid more troubles and beatings. The novel starts with Celie's stepfather abusing her sexually due to her mother being ill. This first quote explains how Celie's father, Alfonso, feels towards abusing her. "You better never tell nobody but God. It'd kill your mammy." He tells Celie that she's going to have sex with him, whether she likes it or not, and on top of that, he tells her not to tell anyone what is happening, preventing the help she could have gotten from another person. This, however, isn't the only way her father abuses her. He took it. He took it while I was sleeping. Killed it out there in the woods. Kill this one too if he can. In this quote, Celie is recalling her father, as soon as she gives birth to his child, he takes it away from her. She imagines it dead, and it tortures her inside. So this is a different form of abuse than his original abuse. The first one was sexually. This one is mentally. However, once again, he has a new way of abusing her. In this next quote, Celie is recalling an instance of her father beating her for doing nothing really wrong, so to speak. "He beat me today, 'cause he say I winked at a boy in church." So she wasn't really doing anything wrong. She said she might have just had dust in her eye, but she didn't dare challenge him because of the fear of him abusing her once more. She kept silent and just took the slap he dished out. Similar to Celie, Marlowe is also in a bad situation that he couldn't escape. In Joseph Conrad's novel, Heart of Darkness, Marlowe, the main character, proves to be a person who isn't used to seeing death and suffering. This next quote proves this. "I found nothing else to do but offer him one of my good Swede ship's biscuits I had in my pocket. The fingers closed slowly on it. There was no other movement and no other glance." In this quote, he sees a dying boy and feels sorry for him, so he gives him a biscuit, though the boy was already too weak to eat it. This shows that Marlowe has compassion and hasn't been exposed to people being so weak that they aren't able to bring food to their mouth. Celie begins to transform. Celie soon meets Shug, Mister's girlfriend, and Sophia, Harpo's soon-to-be wife. Sophia is very arrogant and refuses to be put down by anyone. According to what she says, she had to fight her father and all of her brothers, so she's learnt how to be very strong. So she's very highly influential on Celie. She actually beat Harpo in the story just because Celie actually had told him to beat her because she wasn't listening to him. And what Celie believed was, in order for a relationship to work, the man had to beat the woman. But Sophia, on the other hand, didn't think that was right. Sophia actually said, "But I'll kill him dead before I let him beat me." In this quote, it shows Sophia beginning to influence Celie by telling her she'd kill Harpo before she let him beat her. Sophia's strength, confidence, and toughness begins to encourage Celie to become less fearful of men and fight back more. Another time, Sophia showed her strength and confidence and arrogance in front of Celie was when the mayor's wife asked her to be almost her nanny, so to speak. I guess like a mix of everything. So what happens is she asks her, she's like, "Oh, well, your children seem clean. How about you come work for me?" And Sophia says, "Hell nah." And the mayor's wife goes, "Excuse me? What did you say?" And she says, "I said hell nah." Then the mayor comes in, thinking he's top dog, he's a man. And he asks again, "What did you say to my wife?" And she said, "I said hell nah." Then he slaps her, and then she knocks him down. She punches him and knocks him over. This causes the people around to kind of freak out, and someone calls the police, and they drag Sophia to the ground, where she is then imprisoned for, I guess, attacking the mayor. Although this really doesn't encourage Celie to attack men, it encourages her to be stronger and bolder, and not to allow people, anyone, whether it be a man or a woman, to influence her in any way, shape, or form. If she doesn't want to do something, she doesn't have to. She can fight back and refuse to do something that she doesn't want to do. Marlowe in Heart of Darkness also begins to change. Marlowe soon experiences death again, when his boat is attacked by the natives and his helmsman is speared. Then, without more ado, I tipped him overboard. The current snatched him, though he had been a wisp of grass. I saw the body roll over twice before I lost sight of it forever. In this quote, it shows Marlowe is losing his sadness and compassion for death and suffering. He doesn't even feel slightly upset when the helmsman was killed. All he did was throw the man overboard. So, unlike in the beginning when he felt sorry for the dying boy, he didn't feel an inch of compassion for the helmsman that had just been speared in the side. All he did was he dragged him over to the edge of the boat, and he tipped him over. Celie has a brand new outlook. Mr. Dunn asked me to marry him again, this time in the spirit as well as the flesh. And just after, I say, nah. In this final quote from The Color Purple, it shows Celie refusing to marry Mr. again. She refuses to be in a relationship in which she is abused and unhappy. Therefore, she doesn't want to marry Mr. again to avoid all of his abuse and all of her misery. She decides to go and live with Shug because she brings her a lot of happiness and she treats her well. Now Celie is out of the situation she was in the beginning of the story. She no longer has her father to sexually abuse her, orally abuse her, mentally abuse her, or physically abuse her, or Mr. that will orally abuse her by calling her ugly, putting her down, hurting her feelings, or actually physically abusing her as well. And even Harpo, who actually had thrown a rock at her after she had gotten married to Mr. He threw a rock at her and hurt and injured her head very badly. Now even he is not in the picture anymore. Now Celie and Shug live together. And now she doesn't have to live in that constant fear of being abused or her feelings being hurt. Now she knows Shug is going to be kind to her as she's always been. Marlowe, on the other hand, is completely hardened to death, since he has been exposed to it pretty much all the time in the Congo. I was not so shocked as you may think. The start back I had given was really nothing but a movement of surprise. In this last quote from Heart of Darkness, it shows him seeing the heads of people on the stakes around Kurtz's hut, and not being particularly shocked or caring overall. So now he's seeing probably the worst form of death. Someone's head has been stuck on a stake, just sitting on a stake. A stake pierced through the neck, and it's just sitting all around Kurtz's hut. And he's not even fazed by it. He's like, whatever. It's due to the fact that he's experienced so much death from all the natives being killed, the chain gang in the beginning of the story. So overall, everything has all worked together to harden him and make it so that he doesn't care for death. It doesn't bother him. His suffering doesn't matter. He just sees it as normal now. The importance of the dynamic characters in the two works. While they were both dynamic characters and change over time, they both have a very different impact on the reader. In Celie's case, the reader is proud and rejoices that she has exited the situation she is in, and she has overcome her fear of men and stands up to Mister, telling him, refusing to marry him, making him realize, wow, what have I done? In Marlowe's case, people almost feel sad that he's so hardened to death, and he doesn't even care. All these people are suffering and dying. He just is like, that's just normal. Because he's so used to and is so exposed to all of it, he doesn't even think that it's abnormal for all these people to be tortured and be dying. Well, that's my presentation. All I have now is my sources, which you can see. All my other sources would be the actual story. I'm sorry I don't have a video. I'm kind of boring. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you. Oh, you guys are too kind. Too kind. So very kind. Thank you. Thank you. You're all